transported to a strange planet by a force from beyond the universe. The mightiest superheroes and supervillains of all have been gathered to fight the ultimate war. On one side stand the villainous forces of Dr. Doom. Against them stand the superheroes commanded by Captain America. The X-Men and Magneto form a third force, allied with the other heroes, yet separated from them by mutual suspicion and mistrust. Meanwhile, the mighty Galactus seemingly threatens to destroy them all. Now, as tension grows, a new combatant joins the conflict. Stan Lee presents Marvel superhero Secret Wars Berserker. On the outskirts of the alien village where Captain America and his forces have taken refuge, a mysterious, furtive figure suddenly steps out of the shadows into the light. Human Torch says, "Hey, who are you?" Spider-Woman says, "I'm Spider-Woman." Human Torch says, "Hey, everybody, look what I found." The Thing says, "A girl." Spider-Woman says, "Hello, everybody. I'm Spider-Woman." Captain America says, "You speak English. You're from Earth, but you're a different lady than the Spider-Woman we knew." Hulk says, "How'd you get here?" Mr. Fantastic says, "The Beyonder used fragments of many planets to build. We were on one of them." Spider-Woman says, "A whole suburb of Denver. We just suddenly found ourselves here." Who or what is the Beyonder? Iron Man says, "He's the dude who brought us here. Us and some heavy-duty bad guys. To fight. Guess he was bored one day." Spider-Woman says, "I saw evidence of the fighting. That's one reason I tracked you here. I want to help." Hawkeye says, "What makes you think you can help us?" Spider-Woman says, "Well, I'm strong." Spider-Woman lifts up a giant boulder with her bare hands. Captain America says that you are, but Spider-Woman says, "But you're worried that I'm a spy, right? One of the bad guys, here to stab you in the back." Captain America says, "No, I don't think Doom would bother with treachery. He's got too much raw power at his beck and call." Spider-Man thought, "She tossed that boulder as easily as I could have. At least, I wonder if she sticks to walls, too. And I wonder if I can sue her for infringing on my shticks. I should have gotten a patent or a trademark or something." Captain America says, "Actually, miss, what I was going to say is that strength is not enough. Look, this little war is dangerous business." Spider-Woman says, "I suspect that it's no less dangerous for spectators. Captain America, I might as well pitch in." Iron Man says, "Hey, what's that noise?" Captain Marvel says, "The ground's shaking as if something big were rumbling towards us." Suddenly, a big tank came shooting towards everyone. The same tank that the wrecking crew drove, that shot the Wasp. Human Torch says, "Ow, look out." Captain America says, "Get the villagers out of its path." "Move." Wrecker opened the top door of the tank and came out of it holding Wasp's body. Wrecker says, "Hey, you jerks. Here's a present for you." From the wrecking crew, She-Hulk says, "It's the Wasp." Wrecker says, "Catch." Wrecker threw Wasp on the ground. Left from there, She-Hulk says, "Janet." Jan. Hulk says, "They must have found her out there somewhere alone." Human Torch says, "How bad is it?" She-Hulk picks up Wasp in her arms. She-Hulk says, "It looks like she's been shot. And that fall, the way she landed." Captain America says, "Get her to the healer's hut. Maybe she can do something." She-Hulk took her to the healer's hut and lay her down on the bed. She-Hulk says, "She's not breathing. No pulse, either. Zaji, please help her." Hawkeye says, "She doesn't dig the words you're saying, She-Hulk, but I think she gets the drift." Captain America says, "If anyone can help her, it's Zaji." Zaji holds Wasp's head in her hands. She-Hulk says, "Help her, Zaji. Bring her back." Zaji with her head down, leaving her hut. She-Hulk says, "Where you going? Get back here and help her. Do you hear me?" Thor says, "No one can help her now, She-Hulk." Hawkeye says she's dead. Seconds later, outside the hut, everyone gathered around. Hulk says, "They won't get away with this." She-Hulk says, "They're going to pay all of Doom's toadies, especially the wrecking crew." The Thing says, "Let's go get him." Thor says, "I." Captain America says, "No, Now listen to me. While we're off getting even, what if Galactus starts to use that world-eating machine he's building up on that mountain? Then every living thing on this world, including these innocent villagers and all those people from that suburb of Denver, will die. We got to stay right here ready to attack him. We may have only seconds to react when it begins. Hulk says, why wait? Let's hit Galactus now. Then we'll go crush those other murderous scum. Captain Marvel says, of course attacking Galactus is a lot like suicide. Hulk says, bah, let's fight out and see. Captain America says, maybe Doom's trying to goad us into slugging it out with Galactus. Thor says, aye. And once the victors, or Victor, emerge bone-weary and bloodied, Doom would attack, giving no quarter. Hulk says, but it's going to come to that anyway. Captain America says, maybe, but we're going to wait and see. I want their hides as much as any of you, and I swear if we get the slightest chance. Right now, we dare not squander an ounce of our strength. Meanwhile, half a world away, 3 of the X-Men rocket homeward. Wolverine says, watch where you're going, Summers. Those ain't sparklers out there. Cyclops says, quiet, Wolverine. Professor X is communicating telepathically with me. Professor X telepathically speaks to Cyclops. Professor X says, it is remarkable that you, Wolverine, and Rogue were able to drive away 4 Doom's most powerful lackeys. Well done, Cyclops. Cyclops says, thank you, sir. Wolverine sustained minor injuries. For him, anyway, no sweat, given his recuperative powers. We'll be back at Magneto's fortress in approximately 82 minutes. Professor X says, negative. Change course and pursue Doom's task force. Nightcrawler, Storm, Magneto, and I are boarding a second skycraft even now. We shall converge with you and intercept the target craft. We have a chance to trap the Molecule Man, Titania, the Absorbing Man, and Dr. Octopus before they can rejoin their allies. We must not let it slip away. At that moment, the Doom's forces were taking the Molecule Man back to the Doom base. Absorbing Man says, how's the wimp? Titania says, why? Don't tell me you give a rat's pat to it. Absorbing Man says, nah, just making conversation, legs. Titania says, well, let's see. Hey, Molecule Man. Hey, Milksop. Man, he's out cold. Dr. Octopus says, what do you expect, Titania? The way Wolverine sliced him open, he's lucky to be alive. You and the Absorbing Man had better see to it that he doesn't die, or Doom will have you disintegrated. Titania says, but he'll forgive you, huh, Octopus? Fat chance. Drive faster, jerk. And hundreds of miles away, in the vast fortress called Doom Base, the pleas of a distraught Volcana fall on unsympathetic ears. Volcana says, Claw, my little Owen is hurt. He needs me. I've got to go to him. Claw says, I can't help you, my plum pretty. I'm mad as a loon. Loon. Owen, Owen, Owen. Volcana says, Enchantress, you're a sorceress. You could use your magic to transport me to my Owen. Enchantress says, yes, but why would I, mortal? Volcana says, well, because I need you to. I can't fly a ship. I don't even have a driver's license for a car. Ultron won't help me. He only takes orders from Doom. Enchantress says, it takes much energy to transport a body as bloated as yours. I cannot be bothered. Volcana says, please, I beg you. Enchantress says, how amusing. And next, doubtless, you shall try threatening me. If I do this thing for you, there will, of course, be a price. Volcana says, name it anything. Enchantress says, rash words, mortal wench. And later, you shall deeply regret them. Oh, yes. Yes, indeed. Enchantress transported Volcana inside the ship where Molecule Man was lying unconscious, and Absorbing Man says, hey. Volcana says, Owen. Titania says, Volcana, how'd you get here? Volcana says, I made a deal with the Enchantress. Titania says, what? Girl, ever since we were kids back in Colorado, you've done a lot of stupid things over a lot of Wimpy Mama's boys, but this takes the cake. Volcana says, "Oh, shut up, Skeeter. Owen, my poor cuddly-wuddly baby. I'm here, darling. I'm going to keep you all warm and safe till we get some. Then Dr. Doom or somebody will make you all better." Titania says, "Geez, Volcana, the way you baby that twerp. By the way, it's Titania now, even to you. Got it?" Dr. Octopus says, "Whoever you all are back there, brace yourselves for evasive maneuvers. We're under attack. We're going to crash. Hold on." X-Men came in with their ships, one with Professor X and other X-Men, and the other ship was Cyclops, Wolverine, and Rogue. They attack Doom's allies, and their ship crashes on the ground seconds later. Absorbing Man says, "Nice evasive maneuvering." Dr. Octopus says, "Shut up. How is he, Volcana?" Volcana holding Molecule Man in her arms. Volcana says, "Stable, I guess. Not bleeding anymore. Oh, my poor Owen." Dr. Octopus says, "Excellent. We have time to kill these annoying dolts." Then, Absorbing Man says, "First time you ever said anything, I like Soon as I absorb the properties of these here rocks. I'm ready." Volcana says, "I get the one with the claws." Both teams charges toward each other. Titania punches Rogue. Nightcrawler teleported above Titania, holding a rock and hitting her with it. At the same time, Cyclops shoots Titania with his optic blast. Cyclops says, "Nightcrawler, be careful. My optic blasts are ricocheting." Nightcrawler says, "I see. I do not quite believe, though. Incredible." Rogue, "My lord." Titania says, "Dumb broad always leads with her chin." Nearby, Magneto, with his magnetic power, keeps on throwing large boulders at Absorbing Man, and Absorbing Man keeps on crushing them. Absorbing Man says, "Tell me, Magneto, what scum like you do and hand you around with the X-Men? Sure, they're outlaws, but I thought you was big time. You got mass murder raps, manslaughter, terrorism, what else? Probably everything. You're one of us. On second thought, a cream puff like you belongs with them losers." Absorbing Man tried to hit Magneto, but Magneto dodged it. Magneto says, "You will pay for this insolence." Nearby, Volcana blasts Storm with her volcanic blast, but Storm dodges it. Volcana says, "Almost got you. Sooner or later." Professor X telepathically speaks to Storm. Professor X says, "Storm, danger below you." Dr. Octopus and Volcana attack Storm, but she dodges both of them. Professor X says, "Try as I might, I cannot pierce our enemies' minds. The Enchantress has sealed them against me. I've got to concentrate on coordinating our attack." But the noise of confusion, it is overwhelming. Dr. Octopus hits Storm with his tentacles. Professor X says, "Storm." Wolverine ran toward Storm for help, but Absorbing Man intercepts. Absorbing Man says, "Come here, runt." Absorbing Man hit Wolverine, but Wolverine with his claws slices his arm off. Wolverine says, "Out of my way." Absorbing Man says, my arm." Volcana attacks Wolverine with full might, burning him. Volcana says, "You little slime." Professor X says, "Cyclops, stop her." Cyclops shoots Volcana's powerful optic blast. Volcana says, "Geez." Professor X checks up on Wolverine. Professor X says, "Wolverine lives. We reacted in time. Magneto, aid Storm against Dr. Octopus." At once, Magneto wraps Dr. Octopus with his own tentacles, freeing Storm. Professor X says, "Storm, you must immediately create rain and frigid temperatures around Wolverine. Then strike with all possible force against Titania. Hurry." Rogue attacks Titania with giant boulder. Titania says, "You sneaky." Rogue says, "Y'all are stronger than them, but I got all these Charmin warrior skills." "That's not sneaky, that's smart fighting." Storm and Rogue both attack Titania at once. Rogue thought, "And it's about time I used my head, other than for worrying about which side I should be on. I already made my choice when I joined the X-Men, and I'm sticking with it. Mostly 'cause Wafflin was getting me my face bashing a lot." Volcana says, "This isn't working out. We got to get out of here." Octopus, Titania, Absorbing man. Let's run for it. I'll cover us. Volcana unleashes her full volcanic power toward the X-Men. Professor X says, Magneto, Rogue, erect these stones. Shield us. Storm. Storm says, cold winds and rain. I know. Storm counters Volcana's powers with cold winds and rain, and Magneto builds up a walls of giant boulders. Professor X says, hold on. She can't keep this up for long. Storm says, neither can we. Magneto says, bah, this is no challenge for my magnetic prowess. Rogue says, I'm glad to hear that. They got clean away. We blew it. Professor X says, perhaps, but we lost nothing. Say one of our ships, which matters little, and we gain much. We coalesce as a fighting unit passing our greatest test date, and I think we proved ourselves beyond a doubt. Storm thought, and I think it was you, Professor, who were tested, and though we did well today, I, for one, still have many doubts about your ability to lead us in combat. At that moment, inside the enormous construct that is a homeworld of Galactus, a lone intruder conducts an increasingly desperate search. Dr. Doom says, Dr. Doom, a burglar, rummaging about in another being's home, seeking to steal some priceless thing. Bah, what choice do I have? I need a key. Away. My armor sensors have led me to prize after prize. Hundreds, thousands of devices which, in the hands of man as brilliant as myself, could provide power to conquer entire galaxies. Yet, all of them combined are not enough to defeat Galactus, let alone the Beyonder. There must be a way. Doom must be supreme. Too much time. How much longer can Galactus fail to sense my presence? Am I afraid? No, it is merely excitement. Fear is for lesser men. I shall press on. And on the planet's surface far below, Galactus also perseveres in his endeavors, though plagued by a vague feeling of unease. He pauses, looking around, sensing the entire world and everything upon it at once. Volcanic eruptions 15,000 miles away attract his notice. They are spreading, growing ever more violent. He sighs. It seems he must take time to repair this damaged planet before devouring it a nuisance. His concern about the volcanic upheavals nearly causes him to overlook another matter of seemingly relative insignificance. But no, something else troubles him as well. A sense of something out of place. Somewhere in his home. Something small, pinpointing the anomaly. He seizes and expels it. He is not gentle. Satisfied, he turns his attention toward quelling the massive eruptions. Sometime later at Doom Base, Volcana says, you can help him, Octopus. You're a doctor, aren't you? Dr. Octopus says, I'm a nuclear physicist. Volcana, not an MD. I'll take him to his chambers, then ease your problem, and Doom's if he ever returns. Volcana says, Ultron, can't you do something? Ultron says, there are alien medical machines in the Central Infirmary. I am capable of operating them. However, I must have orders from Dr. Doom to do so. Volcana says, come on, you know he'd want you to help Owen. Ultron says, I act only upon orders from Doom. Enchantress says, I could heal your little friend with but a wave of my hand. For a price. Volcana says, you filthy? What do you want from me? Enchantress says, why, nothing. You have already bargained away all you possess. Foolish mortal. Volcana says, which, I'll kill you. Volcana tries to attack Enchantress, but Titania intercepts. Titania says, Marcia, don't make it worse. Just go take care of your man, okay? Volcana is my friend, and for some reason she likes that wimpy runt. I'm tired, hungry. Right now I'm going to eat, clean up, and get some rest. Then, unless he's all better, I'm going to tear your leg off and stuff it down your throat. Nearby, Absorbing Man, holding his sliced arm, trying to reattach it. Absorbing Man says, what am I going to do? If I change back to human, I'll bleed to death. But I can't stay stoned forever. How am I going to eat? Meb, if I just hold it in place, when I change, it'll be okay. But maybe not. My absorbing power is magic. I don't even know how it works. I gotta try it, I ain't got a choice. It worked. Hurt like the devil, but it stuck. Man, it's sore. I feel like I'm gonna puke. Better lie down. Yeah, and elsewhere in the fortress, the wrecking crew try and put the lizard in the cage. Wrecker says, "Look out! He's awake. The stasis ray must a wore off." Lizard says, "You killed the wasp." Lizard attacks Bulldozer. Bulldozer says, "Why the heck does the stupid freak care that we gunned down the wasp? Just get him off me." Pile Driver says, "I reckon I will." Pile Driver punches Lizard and sends him flying inside the cage. Thunderball says, "Nice going, Pile Driver. I'll hit the switch." Pile Driver says, "You do that, Thunderball." Wrecker says, "That'll hold him." Thor couldn't break out of that cage. Thunderball says, "It better hold him." That lizard's nuts. Claw, hidden watching them, put Lizard in cage. Claw thought, "Lizard izzard, izzard, izzard." Moments later. Bulldozer says, "You guys go ahead. I'll chow down later. I'm beat." Pile Driver says, "Okay, Dozer." Bulldozer says, "That scaly maniac darn near ripped my throat out. Whatever Doom wants him for, I hope it's worth it and hope it's painful. Hey, I feel a breeze, but there's no window in these quarters. There's a large hole in the wall of the quarter." Bulldozer says, "Huh? How'd that get there?" "Oh." She-Hulk says, "Yeah. Oh is right, Bulldozer." Bulldozer says, "She-Hulk." She-Hulk says, "I'm here to discuss a certain little murder." Bulldozer charges straight towards She-Hulk. Bulldozer says, "You ain't discussing nothing with nobody. I'm gonna put you right through the bulkhead." She-Hulk punches him and sends him flying. Bulldozer smashes against the iron door. She-Hulk says, "Yeah, I know you're real strong. You'd probably give Spider-Man a good tussle in an arm wrestling match, which means you're small change to me. Now, I like a fair fight, but not this time. The Wasp never had a chance either, did she? Did she?" She-Hulk punches Bulldozer in the face. Rest of the wrecking crew saw it and charges at her. Wrecker says, "Holy, get her." Elsewhere in the fortress, Titania notices that the walls have a large hole, like someone tore through them. Titania says, "What's this?" Somebody was in too much of a hurry to bother with doors. Somebody strong. No problem following the trail. That noise up ahead. Sound like fighting, but it looks like slaughter. Whoa. She-Hulk. She-Hulk has beaten up all the wrecking crew. Titania says, "Not bad. Now that the preliminaries are out of the way, you ready for main event?" She-Hulk says, "You?" Doom's muscle woman. Titania says, "Titania, remember that name. You'll be using it soon when you're begging for your life." Titania launches herself at She-Hulk, but She-Hulk dodges and kicks Titania. She went flying upwards and smashes with structure. She-Hulk says, "Nah." Titania swings at large structure to attack She-Hulk. Titania says, "Oh, you're going to lick the floor for that. You're going to kiss my boots, babe." Just before you buy it, Dr. Octopus, an absorbing man, came. Dr. Octopus says, "Only one of them? Just a She-Hulk?" From the den, I'd assumed that we were under all-out attack. Absorbing man says, "Yeah, well, the wrecking crew looks like they've been through a gravel crusher. She must be a one-dame army." Titania punches She-Hulk and sends her flying. Titania says, "Stay back. She's mine." Absorbing man says, "Sorry, legs. I'm in the mood to crack me an Avenger's head." Meanwhile, in a chamber far removed, the Enchantress sits in sullen reverie. Enchantress says, "So, the echoing thunder of battle gives way to dull, rhythmic thuds followed by shrieks of agony. They are bludgeoning some wretched fool to death. Perhaps it would be amusing to watch. Bah, fie upon such dull sport. Rather would I stay here and think about mighty Thor. I thought him dead, but he lives, and thus too do my dreams of seducing him, corrupting him, molding him into a darkly majestic consort fit for the Queen of Evil. With him at my side, all Asgard would be at my feet. All things seem possible when endless tomorrows lie ahead. But do they? Or are we destined to perish along with this mortal rabble? Even the lives of God seem so fragile here. That noise, The main gate. Dr. Doom arrives in a battle-weary condition, damaged uniform, limping. Enchantress says, Doom, what happened to you? Mortal, you have forcibly linked our fates to your own. Now speak. I would know the significance of this. What jeopardy have you placed us in? What are our plans? Dr. Doom says, do as you will. It is over. Finished. Elsewhere, all the wrecking crew and Titania beating She-Hulk all at once. Titania says, beg, come on, Greenie. Like a dog. I want to hear it. Wrecker says, not that it'll do you any good. She ain't moving. She's had it now what? Dr. Octopus says, kill her. Thunderball says, yeah. Titania says, all together now. At that moment, hundreds of miles away, a lonely man with the weight of all creation upon his shoulders keeps a grim vigil. Captain America sits alone on top of the mountain, lost in his thought. Captain America thought, he's apparently had that thing completed for hours. Why did he just stand there all this time? And why now is he tinkering with it again? Has something about the planet changed? Requiring adjustments? Why doesn't he just get on with it and put an end to this waiting? Hawkeye and Hulk came from behind, and Hawkeye says, Cap, it's me, Hawkeye. I just wanted to tell you. She-Hulk's missing. Nobody's seen her all day. I figure we all know where she went. She can't take him alone, Cap. She needs us. Captain America says, we stay here. Hulk says, Cap, she's my cousin. Please, just let me go after her. Captain America says, Hulk, I wish I could, but the answer is no. All the heroes gathered around Captain America. Hulk says, I don't suppose you consider putting to a vote? Captain America says, my heart would vote yes in a minute. Too many innocent lives are at stake here, though. Many more than the few people on this planet. We've got a universe depending on what we do here. We can't allow ourselves the luxury of making decisions with our hearts. Meanwhile, in the village nearby, the wounded X-Man, Colossus, limps painfully through the streets. Colossus says, I have had enough lying around. I begin to feel guilty. Like a shirker, I will find Zaji. If she will give me one more of her treatments, maybe the pain will ease enough so I can work and perhaps fight again. Zaji came out of her hut. Colossus thought, there she is. Coming out of the hut, where the wasp's body lies awaiting burial at dawn. If there is a dawn, Zaji, how my heart leaps just to see her. She is so beautiful. Suddenly, Zaji falls on the ground. Colossus holds her in his arms. Colossus says, Zaji, Zaji, you are so pale, barely breathing. Why? What has happened to you? Just then, not far away, Professor X telepathically speaks to Captain America. Professor X says, Captain America, this is Professor Charles Xavier. I am speaking to you telepathically. My X-Men and Magneto are stationed only a few miles from your position. We are ready, willing, and able to help. If you wish, we will take up your vigil, freeing you to do what you must. We shall counterstrike. Immediately should Galactus take action against the planet in your absence, and we will hold fast against him until you return. This I promise you. Please accept our offer. Captain America says, it's a deal, Xavier. Thanks. Captain America says, listen up. The situation has changed. I'll explain later. For now, let's go get those butchers.